expiration of 21.
The application is for me to vary the order of business so that they can lay the item contained in the order paper addendum. What do you have to say?
Speaker, government has a responsibility, and it's not in our place to obstruct policy direction of the government. I am not opposed to the application to vary the order of business. However, there is a technical challenge. The technical challenge is founded on a precedence of this House, which precedence and practice we've all respected. That is to ensure that we do what we call a prelay of such important instrument, so that a broader stakeholder consultation would ensue before the actual laying is done. So, Speaker, if we pay due regard to Article 7 of the Constitution, this is what Order 11.7d provides. With your leave, I proceed to read the Constitution. Any order, rule, or regulation made by a person or authority under a power conferred by this Constitution or any other law shall c. come into force at the expiration of 21 sitting days after being so laid, unless Parliament, before the expiration of 21 days, annuls the order, rule, or regulation by the vote of not less than 2/3 of all the members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, on the basis of this provision, what it means is that if the paper is laid, the instrument is laid, and there is any amendment there too, it can be effected, and it will require a certain number as provided for to even annul or amend or do any other thing to it. So on the basis of this provision, this House reached a consensus that allows what we call the prelaying to enable the committee engage further on this matter, so that when the final instrument, together with the minister, is laid, that is, they fine-tune it and it's laid, at least we know that it's gone through all the processes. So I shall pray you to place the application on ice for now, and rather direct that the minister goes through what has become known as a pre-laying ritual, so that after that the laying is done. Mr. Speaker, you can give them 14 days, 7 days, whatever, as it pleases the minister, to allow for that consultation to be done. That said, I am in principle in support of all steps that government intends to take to ensure that we preserve our forests and we deny some of those illegalities going on in our forests. Because I know that this issue of Galamsey, if not well addressed, it would lead this country to a place we don't want to go. And even so, some of these illegalities are getting into legally acquired mining concessions. And once these investors get affected and they lose their investment, they would see it as a breach of the law, and the state then become a victim because they will sue in arbitration, and it will mean that government of Ghana would have to cough for monies lost. So, Mr. Speaker, if government wants to walk the talk, I am all for it, save that I've given my reasons.
For education.
Speaker, I've listened to the minority leader and the majority leader, and they are both referring to Article 11. Mr. Speaker, on the matter of Article 11, it's a real train. The only power of Parliament, maybe Honorable Whip help me, I want to quote the exact words, is to by a two-thirds resolution. So, Mr. Speaker, may I refer to Article 11(7)(c), come into force at the expiration of 21 sitting days after being so late, unless Parliament, before the expiration of the 21 days, announce the order, rule or regulation by the vote of not less than two-thirds or all the members of Parliament. So, Mr. Speaker, by practice, it will be law even without Parliament taking a decision. Once a report is made, sometimes even the report is not brought before us. Once the minister lays the report, as he is doing, and the majority leader have urged you to allow him to lay it, because, Mr. Minority Leader, the president is responding to a national emergency of a crisis in Galamsey, and he is determined to say that take off my authority and mandate as president, so that the power to grant it is not. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, this is what the president is seeking to do. Maybe let me provide further information. I see the former minister trying, but seek to be recognized by the speaker. But Mr. Speaker, I was a member of the Environment Committee of Parliament, and when the EPA, my chairman is here with Dr. Mafu. You remember, Dr. Mafu belonged to this side of the House. He presided over the meeting, which made recommendations that this should be the position of government. So you can call Dr. Mafu and find out. He was then chairman of the Environment Committee, chaired by the Honorable Labi. We met over some matters in relation to it. Then they advised us, EPA. It was the advice of the EPA that please, these regulations, I think the Attorney General came to work on it, that the Attorney General have laid is wrong. It is not best and good for the country. So, Mr. Speaker, what the majority leader is saying is that, yes, if it is a matter you want to do pre-consultation, he says it's one clause, one off. What consultation? I'm taking off a power and a mandate. This House is just there that I think that this House was not going to have any opportunity to say we are voting. Save today he has the numbers as majority leader, so he's the only person who can marshal a two-thirds and say no, annul this instrument. But let's not get there. The matter of Galamsey is a matter for which this country must build consensus, because it's affecting livelihoods, it's affecting the future sustainability of our country. And I do not think that this should tear our heads where the majority leader have learned. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that is proper that the minister lays it. Then we count the mandatory 21 days, after which effectively it becomes law. I thank you.
Samuel Jinapo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the position of the minority leader, Mr. Speaker, on the need for some pre-laying procedure. And Mr. Speaker, the point about this provision being a one-clause provision, Mr. Speaker, really, if you look at the national constitution and you look at the provision of the constitution which vests all mineral rights in the president, Mr. Speaker, and you look at other statutory interventions
under the circumstance, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, Honourable Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this is a one-clause instrument, just one clause. amendment to the regulations, which simply withdraws the powers of the president. Mr. Speaker, there is consensus across the country that this is a matter that should be done. We don't think that any stakeholder engagements will change anything. It is a commitment that this government made to Ghanaians, this president made to Ghanaians, that this power granted to presidents to allow mining in forest reserves, I don't want it. It should be taken away. And he has instructed his minister to come and lay the instrument that takes away the power. Mr. Speaker, there is nothing to discuss about this. A power granted, somebody says, I don't want to exercise the power. Take it away so that I'm not tempted to exercise it. Why do you want to tempt him? Why do you want to keep the law in place? Even by one day, why do you want to keep the law in place? Mr. Speaker, we are already here. And we are clearly not breaching any provision of the Constitution. As he said, it's a practice that we evolved so that when we are in a corner, we can wriggle our way out of it. But in this case, we are very confident about what we are doing. We are clear about the matter, that the president doesn't want the power. He wants it taken away. He doesn't want any money in forest reserves. And he doesn't want the law to stay any additional day beyond where it is now. So, Mr. Speaker, let us lay it. If the committee meets, and then the committee thinks that there should be a revision, they can come here. But I'm assuring you that this side of the House is clear on the matter. I will not vote for any motion, any attempt to change anything